Profanity Nation.
Yeah, it's the new era of man for some old school fans with a new school brand. We got money on the mic with the plan in hand. And Stat Pat to his left, they go hand in hand. And to the right, we got Simpster, he putting it down. It's the Profanity Nation, we running the town, yeah.
It's the Profanity Nation.
Hey, welcome to the Profanity Nation podcast, where we are the voice of the professional fan. We have a great week and a great guest here in studio. We have Nick Hamilton with us. He is a great friend of the show.
Yes.
And we can't wait to get into it.
I've been waiting on this dude for 2 years.
You've been waiting to get back at this one here.
I ain't even gonna lie, man. we gotta talk. We gotta talk.
All right,
I'm gonna get him on my side.
Yeah, that is my co-host,
Get him on my
Money
side.
Mike, right there. Money Mike, you're ready for this one, right?
Man, I'm for 2 years.
For 2 years, okay.
If you want some, come get some.
Hey, man.
Hey.
No, I just want you on my side, man.
Yeah, I have a feeling you guys will be on the same side a little bit.
It's what I think it is.
All right,
Yeah.
Stat Pat, how you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm real good. We're just waiting for these playoffs to finish and get to next season because I'm tired of looking at playoff basketball with the Lakers in it. Come on, let's get this done.
Lakers, you might have to get used to that for a little while.
Yikes.
All right, Nick. We're going to bring you in a second, but as always, we start the show with a gentleman that just needs no introduction. Marco NUNOZ, the former athletic trainer for the Los Angeles Lakers. He is ready. Let's bring him in. Marco. Hey, Marco. How you doing today?
Doing well. How's everybody doing today?
Man, we good,
Good.
man. We
Good,
good.
Marco.
Hey, so Marco, I'm worried about my boy Lonzo. They said he had that meniscus surgery, and then he had that bone bruise, and I think he was supposed to come back in 6 to 8 weeks, and that was way back in January. And now they're talking about like his knees not responding. And they don't know if it's the bone bruise or the meniscus. Dude, they pay millions of dollars, man, on these surgeries. How do they not know what really is causing the issue after it's been almost 5 months? Like who are these doctors operating on this dude? Help me out with this.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like I mentioned over and over, and we've discussed this regarding bone bruises. Bone bruises, unfortunately, are very, very unpredictable. You can get one, and you can go back in a couple of days, a week, and you're done. Or it can last for several months. I mean, look at Nunn this past season with the Lakers. He had it during their preseason, didn't play some game during the whole entire regular season type of thing. So they can't linger on, especially in the knee. It also depends on the location of the knee at the time they buckle, every time they hit. Now, as far as the meniscus, I haven't had a chance to look into what they did, whether they did a repair or whether they did a meniscectomy. Meniscectomy is when they go in and just clean it out and they take out a piece of the meniscus and kind of get removed. A repair is where they try to save the meniscus and they suture it up, and it's almost like they're trying to kind of like patch it up type of thing. Now, those can be a little bit unpredictable. There's about a 50-50 chance, usually for young athletes and point guards, to try to say that. I don't know if you guys recall a couple of years ago, actually more than a couple of years ago, with Russell Westbrook when he was with OKC, they did a meniscectomy. They did a meniscus repair. It didn't take. I think they did a second one. It still didn't take, and then they finally had to do a meniscectomy. So I don't know if it's kind of the same thing that's going on with Lonzo right now.
Hey, Marco, I've got a question. Why would they go with the repair instead of just the full surgery, which would appear to fix the problem in the first place?
Well, the thing about that you want the repairs, because the meniscus it acts as a shock absorber and a protector and reduces friction between what's called the femur bone, which is your thigh bone, and the tibia, which is the lower leg bone. If you remove the meniscus, then now you have bone on bone rubbing against each other, which then creates a higher risk of developing arthritis. And if you're an athlete, you don't want that in your knee, because then that arthritis can flare up, can create swelling and all that stuff. Especially if you're a young athlete, especially if you're like a point guard, they're going to be moving and twisting around. You want your meniscus in there. So all doctors will try to save the meniscus as much as possible when they can, or go in and remove it. Yes, the easier solution is just to do what's called a meniscectomy, where they go and clean it out. Boom, you're done. 4 to 6 weeks, you come back and play, and you're done. But then it can create some arthritic issues later down the road, especially if you're a young athlete.
All right, so let me ask you. Oh, go ahead, Pat.
Oh yeah, just real quick, Marco. So if they do remove the meniscus, is there anything they can use in place of that? So instead of having the bone-on-bone friction, could they have something like some kind of replacement cartilage of some sort?
So right now, from my understanding, I don't think there's anything to replace the cartilage and anything of that sort. But there are some what's called procedures that you can kind of get done. There's one thing it's called a monovisc or synvisc that they often inject with athletes that have arthritic issues in their knee. And the synvisc is basically a lubing that you're kind of doing like a lubing of the knee type of thing to try to kind of reduce that friction. A lot of athletes, even adults that have arthritic issues, arthritic knees, getting like what's called a monovisc or synvisc injection in there, which they basically inject lubrication into your knee. It helps reduce some of the swelling. A lot of patients get a great relief from pain from it, especially like the elder adults, or if you have like adults that were like played sports for a long period of time. Now they're having arthritic issues in the knee. That's one kind of technique that kind of help relieve some of the symptoms.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, so let me ask you though, like if he had a bone bruise first and then they went in the knee, for the meniscus, couldn't they have like be able to look at the bruise while they were in there to be able to determine how severe it was? I'm thinking like, hey, while we're in there, we might as well look at everything. But
let's do a full tune up.
Yeah, that's
I mean, that's the thing about it. As far as like say bone bruises, you can have a large bone bruise and it doesn't affect you, and you're fine. You can play. You can have a tiny, tiny bone bruise, but if it's located at the right spot, where every time you rotate or you pivot, you turn, and it kind of clicks against the other bone, that could be a sharp pain. Like I give you the example of everybody. You can have a small little splinter in your finger and you're like done for the day. It could be a very painful type of thing. So it's not only the size of the bone bruise, but more importantly, the location of the bone bruise.
All right. Well, okay. So look,
I know that
I feel you. I understand, man. That's why I appreciate you, because you help me understand this.
Yeah.
So now they're saying, yo, this dude is not responding. So what do? We just sit back and wait for it to respond, or we wait for it to pick up that call? I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, unfortunately, I don't know the exact details of the injury. I don't know whether they did, like I said, as far as me talking about the meniscectomy or the repair, that's just something that I'm kind of speculating right now. So that's, but please, by no means, nobody quote me on that part, that's what's going on. But I know from my understanding, he's back here in LA. He's visiting with some doctors, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what is the next step? Because like you mentioned, he had the surgery back in January. He was expected to come back a couple of weeks, and he basically never return type of thing. So I know they're trying to kind of figure out, okay, well, what's going on? What's the next step?
All right.
Excellent.
You got any questions?
Great info.
Hey, so I got another question, man.
Go ahead.
Hey, I was at the fair yesterday, and I was thinking about my mom. My mom had a double hip replacement, all that stuff, and she's been like, she went to a physical therapist, and now she's in pain, and then she's taking Tylenol, so that way, because she wants to be able to be mobile, walk around, but she had double hip replacement. I bought one of those things yesterday. At the fair, they try to save stuff and all that. So I bought, that little remote thing with the pulse that they put on.
Yep,
I don't know what they call it. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yep.
So I went and bought that. And the guy was like, yeah, man, put one right here, right below the stomach, and one on the hip, and one down here, and turn it on low. And I said, yeah, but she ain't gonna cartilage because she replaced her hip. And she said, no, it'll be good, be perfect. It's gonna give her blood circulation, all that stuff. Did I waste my money, or just, or is this?
No,
just tell me.
Well, let's first start. I wouldn't buy any medical equipment or supplies at a college fair.
At a fair, yeah.
Well, you know how it is.
Hey, you get what you pay for.
Hey, no. I mean, but those electric, they would do. They did a full thing where they had my wife, my daughter, and me, and it was on my wife's hands, and it went all through us, and I felt the tingle on the other side. I was like, all right, I guess that's what's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
but most of those,
should I get my money back or give it to my mom? Just answer that.
You're gonna go back tomorrow, and that stand's gonna be empty. No one's gonna be there anymore.
Oh yeah, May 31st, it will be for sure.
No, but bottom line, they call it electrical stimulations units or TENS units or MENS units, depending on it. And it does. The goal of it is try to increase blood flow to the area by bringing like electrical stimulation. What they're supposed to do is it's also supposed to kind of like mess with the nerve endings to kind of help give you some pain relief, so to speak. But that's just kind of like an immediate fix or some immediate relief. At the end of the day, if your mom had hip surgery and she went to physical therapy, one thing she needs to continue doing is continue strengthening this program. Just because you get cleared from physical therapy doesn't mean that, hey, you're free to go, you're all set, you're fine and dandy. No, she needs to continue increasing her mobility, her stability, and her strength in those hips and the knees and her kind of core all around.
Thank you so much.
So,
Marco.
so the key, he didn't say nothing about me giving her this device. So I
He said it might provide a temporary relief
Yes, man.
while she's using
Give
it,
your
but
mom.
that's about
Hey,
it.
do something out for your mom, man.
Hey, man. Hey, I'm gonna tell her to try it out, man. And see what happens.
That's
I already bought it.
There you go. All right, Marco, thank you so much. Can you please let everybody know who's listening or watching the best way to keep up to date with what you've got going on?
Yeah, if you guys have any questions regarding sports injuries, recovery, rehab, or anything like that, feel free to DM me on my Instagram at MarcoANunez17. And also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Evolve Athletic Performance.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week, Marco.
See ya.
Thank you. Take care.
Peace.
Have a good one. All right, guys. So, as you said, great stuff from Marco.
Yeah.
But as we said, we've got
I think I wasted my
guest
money.
here. We've got a great guest here. We've got the incredible Nick Hamilton with us. Let's go ahead and bring Nick Hamilton in. Nick, how are you doing?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm here, man. You guys have come up, man. Since the last time I see you guys, man. This is beautiful, man.
Thank
Oh,
you.
we
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate
It was all Jeff's idea.
I'm
Yeah.
inspired, man. That make me feel like the poor man of the group, man. Jeez.
No.
You're welcome here anytime, my friend, of course. So last time we were talking, we always talk Lakers here, of course, but why don't you fill us in a little bit what you've got going on here? Of course, everybody, if you haven't been keeping up with what Nick's got going on, you should. We'll go ahead and run his Instagram handle right here soon. But I was watching you on a show, and you were saying something about a documentary or something. Let's go ahead and start right there.
Well, actually, a friend of mine and I, we're in the process of formulating this film company. We're actually starting to work on the documentary. We have a trailer for it already, so we're trying to get the business side of it taken care of and getting that out. And hopefully, if it gets greenlit sooner than later, then be looking to shoot it sometime in 23. But just another venture, just to be able to be in a creative space. And to tell stories, and it's not just sports. It'd be entertainment. It'd be politics. It'd be lifestyle. It's just whatever it is, because I feel like storytelling is almost a lost art in certain regards, because you don't get an opportunity to really tap in to what the subject matter is or the subject itself, whether whoever that may be. So just inspired by when you watch stuff like Winning Time, or you watch Magic Johnson's documentary, or you watch the Jordan documentary, and then now we got the Kobe documentary coming up soon, hopefully. So do you seeing pieces of information like that, and stuff you just watch on Netflix or things of that nature that kind of just say, okay, well, there's a space for it, so let's see what we can tackle and put our stamp on it. So that's basically what it is.
Yeah, good. Funny you said that, because I was thinking, like, after The Last Dance came out and you saw everyone was doing that, I'm thinking to myself, like, all of a sudden a whole new world opened up. And think about how many other sports and other athletes that you've always wanted to get that kind of that introspection of how they thought about things in certain moments, because it's so surreal to you as the viewer, as the spectator. But then when you want to hear, like, what were you going through during that time when we all was like, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that.
And you want the juice too,
right?
Like, you want to know what goes on, what was said, how you truly feel about this person, how you truly feel about that person. I mean, watching the Last Dance, I mean, it was perfect timing.
Oh my God.
Because perfect timing, because we were under the pandemic, we couldn't go anywhere, nothing was open. So we sat there glued to our respective screens and watched it in its entirety. Sometimes you watched it again when it was over. You watched the replay just because you were afraid you got up to the bathroom or you missed out on something.
Right.
So it was perfect timing. And that's the thing that I felt like the Magic Johnson documentary, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal on Apple TV, but I thought the timing of it was wrong.
Yes.
I thought, to me, I thought Magic's emotion may have dictated that decision. And usually when you have emotions that dictate your decision, 10.5 times out of 10, you lose, right? Fortunately, I'm not saying this is a lost effort, but I think had he waited till, let's say, June of this year and did the 4-part series on Apple TV, I think more people would have been inclined, because the finals would have been behind. There's nothing else on television that you want to pay attention to. So I thought that was that would have been a perfect timing.
From Winning Time.
Absolutely.
Instead of looking like
you're not
chasing Winning Time.
Or trying to get ahead of the story.
Yeah, because
like you were trying to get ahead of the story.
Overshadowed by Winning Time, because every episode got better. And if you look at the ratings from episode 6 to episode, what was it, 10 or whatever the last episode was, it increased in the ratings. So you got more viewership, and I'm sure people are gonna go back and then rewatch the exact series from start to finish. So to
Especially
me,
when season 2 comes out, they'll
season 2 is gonna be
gonna watch it
phenomenal. If
again.
they stick to this, if they stick to the script
Mhm.
and have the great writing that they've had,
and the cast.
again, like I said, John C. Reilly should get a Golden
Oh my
Globe
God.
at least for Dr. Buster.
No,
I
no.
forgot that was. You know what I talk about when I think about John C. Reilly? I think about Step Brothers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I forgot that he was John C. Reilly. I really thought that was Dr. Bus talking for a
Yeah.
second.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the detail of a great actor.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
you
great.
It's like funny you said that because at one time when Malcolm X, kind of like the movie Malcolm X,
Denzel.
when you watching it all of a sudden, like after like about halfway, you're like, man, I don't even know who. Like, is this Malcolm? Is this Malcolm X or is this like Denzel Washington? Because he just pretty much embodied that role, and John C. Reilly is the star of that show.
Oh, no.
Man,
Yeah.
he's the unquestioned star.
And out of so many bright lights, because Quincy Isaiah.
Oh my God,
amazing.
yes.
Dr. Solomon Hughes, amazing
Yep.
as Kareem. Really did a great job.
He is.
But he to literally rise. And then you got Sally Fields in there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
And also let me shout out
Adrian Brody.
Wood Harris, who played
Yeah,
Spencer
my
Haywood, who did a
goodness.
really great job
Yep.
doing Spencer
Amazing.
Haywood.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I think
Yeah.
Spencer Haywood would be pleased with his performance.
No, he
Oh,
is.
Yeah.
He is.
So-
I mean, it came out his daughter was
Yeah.
the first one that said, "Oh my God, I love how you portrayed
Yeah, my
my
dad.
dad," and
Yeah.
then he just kind of co-signed what she said, which is really kind of comical to me because everybody else hates. You know what I mean? Like, how does So I mean, that to me creates more validity in the story, and how they shot it because Spencer Haywood, they showed him as a crackhead pretty much, trying to stay
Absolutely.
clean. And Spencer Haywood loved how he was portrayed.
Well,
Right.
because he was dealing with significant drug use,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so you had to portray that. Like how else could you portray that?
Yeah,
and
but what I'm saying is though that was
Yeah,
in a
not keep
negative
it
manner.
100, yeah.
That's a negative manner, right? So, and he said,
Definitely didn't show him in a bright light, but it was real.
Yeah.
And the thing is he can be real. Being a former addict, a lot of former addicts, in order to stay sober, have to be real, and he's real.
And also too, it showcased his leadership because that's somebody Kareem leaned on,
right?
And they kind of leaned on each other. You saw the dynamic between the two characters, and so I thought that was important to show that two brothers can lean on one another. And Kareem really valued him as a person, even going through his drug binges.
Right.
He still valued him as a person. He hated to deliver the bad news that he couldn't go with them on that quest for that championship.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Solomon did a great job on Kareem because I've met Kareem.
Mm-hmm.
I've interacted with him. I've had not great interactions with him. then I had a really, really good one, right? But the one I had that was really, really good, it was literally was one where he said, "Okay, today I'm gonna be Mr. Nice Guy." Every other time it was a spontaneous interaction, and he gave me what he normally was, right? And which, look, I'm just being real with it, right? But I saw how Solomon acted in there, and I'm like, yeah, that's Kareem. You know what I mean? That's how he is. So, and listen, I understand not everybody. Look, Magic is great. If you see Magic on the street, he gonna stop, talk, say hi to everybody, and he gonna be there 30 minutes, be late to the meeting. Kareem ain't doing that. Kareem gonna look at you, walk away, probably curse you out. But I love the fact that was projected in the show.
Yeah, it was a good part. I mean, I've had interactions with Kareem too, and there have been times where I've scratched my back with a cactus than deal with Kareem, right? Just because he was just awkward and he was just odd, right? Like he acted like he didn't want to be there. So I'm like, well, why the hell are you
obvious.
here?
Exactly.
Right. Why the hell are you here? And then his handler is like, doesn't let you talk to him.
Oh yeah,
and they put you through like 20 questions. It's like, man, please.
There's no casual.
I'm gonna talk to Emmitt Smith over here. Like he's a NFL champion. I'm gonna talk to Emmitt Smith. Like the hell with you.
That dude literally, I was right beside him and he ignored me. Like he looked straight ahead.
But that's the reason why they say he never got his coaching opportunity, which he wanted. So if you're not very approachable,
I mean, you reap what you sow. I mean, and we've seen you interact with so many people, And then now all of a sudden we're going to go ahead and just because you got basketball acumen, I need to go ahead and just give you a job. It's like you forget about the whole interacting with the press and interacting with all kinds of different people just to play, just to the players.
His teammates.
Right. I mean,
even interacting with his teammates, because you have someone like Kobe who was, obviously Black Mamba, but everybody came to Kobe for advice, and Kobe was, if you came to Kobe for advice, the Tatums, the Booker, he was open. Kareem now says, I don't know why people don't come to me, but it's you don't know why.
You confused?
Everyone, the word is don't bug Kareem.
Yeah, right. Either you're confused or you're high. Right. Like either one. Like you don't understand why you just, dude, like stop it. Stop lying to yourself.
If anything, his character was probably the easiest to capture because he was the same guy no matter what. There really wasn't too much hidden behind Kareem. I don't think behind closed doors, everyone kind of knew who he was. The other players, there was a lot to learn. Norm Nixon, Magic, of course, a ton. But all the players, Spencer Harrod, it was just an outstanding series. Like you said, we're looking forward to season 2, which, as we've said on the show, is confirmed. And some people believe it was going to jump right to the Kobe Shaq era. That is not the case. They are going to stick. There's just too much to contain. Riley hasn't even become coach yet.
That's what I'm saying. You got 5.
Wait, who the hell thought that? Did you not pay attention to the storyline of watching Winning Time? Well, it's called Winning Time.
Yeah. The reason why is because Proma's next book was based on but there's plenty of room in this book to continue.
This is Winning Time. This is not the dynamic duo. Like this is Winning Time. This is about the Showtime. This is what kicked it off, so you can have Shaq and Kobe later on down the line.
Possible. Right. Exactly.
I mean, think about it, right? There's like 5 championships, 5 seasons at least.
Yeah.
Oh,
at least.
Easy.
Yeah.
But the thing about it though, they haven't even really gotten into the Magic Bird dynamic. Like it just literally,
no, it just
you saw it, but it's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
About
shout out to whoever that guy is because he's killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet Bird was
Red Arbach.
Red Arbach. Yeah.
Michael,
what's neat is the stuff we've learned.
Yeah.
The stuff we've learned is great, and you can believe it. And just the gambling nature of Bus and the way that he finagled those bankers and such, it was wonderful.
Like I said, to me, I mean, if anybody can be, I mean, if he's in heaven, man, he's like smiling down, thinking like, man, y'all are killing it with my role, because he's looking great. Because he's looking like the guy that we always. First of all, he's Dr. Bus. He's Dr. Bus, so we know he had a mind because he's a doctor of chemistry. So you can't. I've taken chemistry courses. They are hard. Yeah. Okay. And to have a PhD in that, and then also be working, what he heard about, he was working with, on like missiles and stuff like that. So, and then he's a gambler. And so all of that, and a philanderer, and you see it all kind of play. Yes, he had a residency
in LA,
the Playboy Mansion. You know what I'm saying? He's gambling because he's literally his whole life, this whole deal, this whole thing is a gamble, and he's betting and he's winning. And you heard he was a great poker player. I mean, he knocked it out the park. Oh my God, it was just. I mean, of anybody, he's the one.
I think the best thing you can say about him is that he was just such a visionary. And nobody saw it. No, nobody saw what he envisioned in it. And then I think probably, what would you say, David Stern probably was the real one. They was like, hey, we could probably play off this.
He took it and ran with it.
We got this Magic Bird, thing he's creating.
It shows you the brilliance of David Stern early on, like when he took it over in '85 and what he did and getting off tape delay and actually bringing live games to fans.
Yeah,
I think, but he
also giving Bus some leeway to do what he was doing.
Sure, he had to, because you had arguably one of the greatest players and one of the most focal players in Magic on the West Coast, Bird in Boston on the East Coast, Lakers, Celtics. You built that dynamic, which opened the door for the GOAT himself and Michael Jordan later on. So I think it was smart for them to show that, and I'm glad they showed that, because I think it gave some history to especially younger viewers that didn't really understand how the NBA became the NBA what we see today.
Or how much the Lakers themselves, Jerry West, influenced the NBA that we see today. And regional sports channel. You keep naming. I mean, there's so much. And it's great. I just love that it's our town.
Right.
And it's our team.
Yeah,
It's about.
So even when we're losing, we're winning.
Even when we losing, we winning. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
financially especially.
That's a Laker myopic way of thinking. But
All
go
right,
ahead.
let's get right into that. Because,
So get into it.
Yeah.
Hey man, first of all, man, look, you've been killing it, man. I'm
Thank
over
you.
there watching TV, and I'm Rogan, and all of a sudden, hey, I got Nick Hamilton. I'm like that guy right there. He came on my show, and I feel like you really
Yeah, you
did a number on me. But look, I just want to ask you, man. I've been called a LeBron hater, and I've been watching, this whole season, and
I ain't hating.
and it was tumultuous for me, right? And me and you back and forth, you spit out all the stuff about, how could I say these negative things about LeBron? But dude, like this season, I feel like I was 100% right in what I was saying about him for many reasons. Number one, he was not a leader on our team this year. He looked like he was selfish and wanted to do things for himself. He didn't want to take any heat. It was always somebody else's fault. He was throwing shade at the coaching staff this year. He's scoring 30 points. We losing by 25. Like, why? So the whole year I'm pointing these things out, dude. He ain't getting no fouls, But when I'm pointing these things out, everybody's telling me that I'm a LeBron hater. Like they not seeing the same exact thing.
Well, let me ask you this, Walter Hayden. Who was the leader on the team this year? Not named LeBron.
Nobody was. That's the problem.
So they had no lead. So you say they had completely no leadership.
Well,
Somebody got to be in a leadership role, though.
Yeah, but
whether they display that or not is a different topic. But who was in the leadership chair, not named Frank Vogel?
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, though. LeBron was supposed to be the leader.
Because I think he was the leader. But I also think, to your point, I think LeBron failed at that miserably.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because I agree with you. Statistically, LeBron had an MVP-esque type season. No question. You can't take anything away from LeBron. LeBron kind of kept them in certain games. LeBron did keep them in certain games. Now, it wasn't a plethora of games. Don't get me wrong. I ain't drunk. But what I'm saying is he kept them in a significant – he kept them in a certain amount of games. The problem is the deflection. Because when you look at other leadership, you look at guys and say, hey, no, it's on me. Regardless if the other guys stunk up the joint the entire night, you look at the guy that said, hey, it's on me. Y'all want to talk about somebody, put it on me. Right. LeBron doesn't do that. And we know that. So why are we so surprised when he doesn't do that? He hasn't done it but majority of his career.
But this is why I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that he did that. I'm surprised that nobody's holding him accountable. Because
who has the balls enough to hold him accountable?
Well, but see, I think even the commentators
that gets down to the coaching search. But we'll get there in a second.
This is the reason why, I think we have this show because I'm calling him out about those things. Because Stephen A. ain't calling him out. Mike Wilbon, ESPN, Fox Sports, nobody's calling this dude out about what he ain't doing. They're over there talking about, he's 90 years, he's in his prime, if he's great, he's scoring all these points. Dude, we are literally losing, and this guy is the first guy walking down the tunnel. He at the beginning of the season, y'all keep all that smack, about, if you say we keep all the energy.
Take your time, Pastor.
We kept we at the end of the season, this dude says I make no decisions. And then when I want to keep that same energy, is that like it's not going to be directed towards him? Like,
hold on, man, I got to give you an offer, man. You over here preaching? Hold on.
Hey. So I mean, all I'm saying is, my question to you is, when I'm pointing out what really is happening, I mean, he's not going to be successful because when Russell Westbrook comes over here, Russell Westbrook only is successful if he handles the ball. But if you got LeBron handling the ball, then Russell Westbrook has no place, So now if you have all these situations, why, if I point these out, am I called a hater on LeBron?
Because the truth
I ain't hating
before you. Because the truth stings before you take it.
Okay.
Right. And sometimes these Laker myopics out here, which I got into it with a couple. I love getting into a Laker myopics because it's fun. Because their blood boils so easily. It's funny to me. And I thoroughly enjoy it. Like, you want me to be the jerk? Fine. I'll play the jerk role to the T. We talked about John C. Riley playing Dr. Bus. I will play the jerk role to the T. I have no problems with that. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's therapeutic for me. But what I will say is this. LeBron has to be called out. The reason why you mentioned Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, because it is political and it's contractual.
Right.
We know LeBron has a deal with ESPN and those services, so they can't say too much about LeBron. We know Stephen A. and LeBron don't really mix like oil and water, right? We get that. But Michael Wilbon is not going to say too much at that time. And I was really surprised that he didn't say more, because usually Michael Wilbon is usually pretty spot on when he talks about players.
Right.
He doesn't destroy them, but he just brings it to the point. But when you look at LeBron, and I have to go above LeBron, I got to say, look, man, I got to look at the ownership. I got to look at Jeannie Buss, right? And I think Jeannie Buss is one of the most brilliant women in the league, period. I mean, think about it. She's amongst giants of a completely opposite gender, and she's in there, she's making headways. What I do think, though, the problem is the lack of structure. And the reason why you see the lack of structure on the floor, because it's lack of structure upstairs. So it trickles down from upstairs to the floor. That's why when we talked about earlier about having Dr. Buss, why it ran so smoothly, because Dr. Buss kept a well-oiled machine upstairs, which trickled down all the way to the custodian staff. That's how well-oiled that machine was when he owned the Lakers. That's why the Lakers were successful. That's why you always had controversy because it's LA. That's what moves the needle. That's entertainment. He wanted to bring entertainment to the basketball court. But this is beyond entertainment. This is just downright dysfunction. And for these Laker myopics that have a hope, a wing, and a prayer to think that you're going to win another championship with a 20-year-old LeBron James who continues to break down, who hasn't had an entire season of play, who is a defensive liability. You got Russell Westbrook, who statistically is a worst three-point shooter of all time, who is horrible. The dude he looks lost in the offense.
That's probably the worst player to pair with LeBron.
It was the worst trade in Laker history. The worst trade in Laker history. And you're going to sit there and act like, and I'm not supposed to get you drug tested for telling me or trying to convince me that this is a team when healthy, with street clothes, better known as AD, is on the floor along with those two clowns that I just mentioned, and you're going to win a championship in a very tough, brutal Western Conference when everybody else is going to get better. Come on, man. What are you smoking? Like, there's no way you're going to convince me of that, because it's dysfunction. You got an owner that can't even make her own solid decision without 900 people being in her ear.
Well, that brings up that point. So you've got Jeannie Buss, and it would seem to me, and maybe, just the novice Lakers fan, that one of the drawbacks that Jeannie brings is her... She doesn't want to leave the Laker family. She's got Kurt and Linda Rambis. She's got Pelinka, who came from Kobe. She doesn't seem to want to go outside the family. And that seems perhaps why we're stuck. Now, as far as basketball decisions, of course, ownership, she makes the final decisions, but you have to put the right people in place below you so that you can feel confident in that. Even Buss, at least had that at the time. It just seems she's terrified to do this on her own and leave the Laker family.
Which tells me, are you confident in yourself as an owner? Because when you look around the league, you look at the Miami Heat, which are who happen to be playing currently in the Eastern Conference Finals, while the Lakers are in Cancun on the couch.
Yep.
Look at the structure. Mickey Arison, the Godfather Pat Riley, and I'm sure they have other people they confer with. But you know the structure. You know where it's going to go. Same thing in Golden State. Same thing in Dallas with Mark Cuban and those guys. Even if you look at the Los Angeles Clippers, you look at the ownership, you look at Jerry West, and of course, no disrespect to Lawrence Frank and those guys, because I think they manage and do what they're supposed to do. But you automatically know if Jerry sees something, you don't think Steve Ballmer's going to be like, oh, no, sorry, Jerry, we're not going to roll with that. Of course he is. He wants to win at all costs. That's why he brought the great Jerry West on board. But when you look at different structures of teams, you can see what it is, and you can see why certain things happen the way they do. They're having situations where you bringing in 900, you're bringing in, like you said, the Rambuses. Now you got Pelinka. Now you got Magic coming back. Excuse me,
family.
is this the same
Phil,
Magic Johnson that
wait,
gave
now
you?
she's consulting with Phil again.
I mean, come on,
to go
the same.
outside
What are you
of her
talking about
circle.
right now, right?
The same. I mean, and let's add Rich Paul and LeBron to that mix. So now you got other people.
That's the biggest problem to
Come
me.
on.
That's the biggest problem to me because, first of all, they literally straight played GM. Carmelo Anthony said it like, you are the GM. Kyrie just did an interview. They said
GM.
that LeBron plays the GM. One thing we know historically is that wherever LeBron goes and then he leaves, he cuts the whole team and then they're in the gutter.
Except for the Miami Heat.
Well, and there's a reason they didn't let.
That's because Pat Riley wouldn't allow him to do
Again,
that.
structure.
Yeah.
You don't let the player
Right.
run the palace.
And that's what I was going to say
Or
about
rise
when it
above
came,
the team.
That's what I'm going to say about the Lakers. If, like Nick was talking about, if the Lakers had, say, a Jerry Buss at the helm where he was before, and having the structure with, even Kupchak, because Kupchak was that guy that he leaned on to make those personnel decisions. Sure. He might not make the best of them, but we knew who the big boss in the room was. It was Kupchak. You're not going to be able to have an agent influence personnel decisions if you got Jerry Buss and Mitch Kupchak. And like you got the Ramby, you got Pelinka. Pelinka don't even know
he's
if
an agent himself.
Yes,
so
he don't even know if he's a GM. Like he's running it by people. He got these people. I got 5 guys. Who you want? I'm gonna run it by you guys. You guys let me know who you want, and then I'll make a decision based upon that. That's not being a GM. You know what I'm saying? That's not and then to give him even the vice president of player personnel. I mean, you giving him big titles, like just for you to be literally a puppet. That's what I don't understand.
I mean, when you look at this state of dysfunction, and I'm being nice when I say that, you wonder why I'm saying they're not going to win. Let me ask y'all this real quick. When did the Lakers get so damn thirsty? When did y'all get so thirsty to the point where you guys are now begging for third-degree coaches? When did y'all get so thirsty as if LeBron James wasn't going to leave Cleveland to come to Los Angeles, because we all know he wanted to get in different endeavors away from basketball. Exactly. He was going to come to LA regardless, and you let him gut the young talent. He kept Kuzma, but he gutted and alienated the young talent in B.I. and Lonzo Ball. And look what B.I. is doing in New Orleans. Look what we just talked about Lonzo Ball, I was never confident.
But listen,
I wasn't confident in Lonzo from day one.
But the Bulls were good when he was on the
floor. No, they were good. But what I'm saying, but you look at the success that B.I. has had in New Orleans.
Yeah.
You look at, Kyle Kuzma, how he's playing happier in D.C. Like, you look at all these guys that LeBron has alienated, and it's like, why did you let this guy take over? You saw the history. You look what he did at Cleveland. Look what he tried to do in Miami before Pat Riley put his foot down, and you think the same thing's not going to happen here. And then you want to stick your chest out and pull the reins in after the fact and say, "Sorry, LeBron, we're going to do it our way." It's too late.
Or leak that it was Clutch's fault.
Yeah,
not our fault.
like that's bad.
Well, that doesn't make you just look bad anyways.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Look, I would tell you the biggest thing I hate about what's going on with the Lakers, and I literally just saw it today, is every young talent that the Lakers have, they're trade bait. Yeah. They just said today that THT is probably going to be a really good piece to trade, in the summer. Then
he'll be great on another team.
Like, why are we having this conversation? Why are we actually doing that? Like, I mean, if we have these people, and you guys, heard me say, I wouldn't have traded for AD. I felt like AD would have came the second year. We could have had the other teams.
We would have had the same squad because we would have cleared our cap space, and we would have had a young talent.
Right.
And we would have been able to get AD as well as that talent. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Because I think AD was coming.
I thought he was coming too.
Why were we trading a year early anyway?
Because LeBron wanted him, and your organization wanted to lather him up and ball wash the hell out of him and give him any and everything he wanted, and that's exactly what he wanted at the cost of alienating players, at the cost of trying to bring his own people in within the organization as well. And that's why I said, remember when last time I was on here, I called him the new death row. because it was like,
Yeah, I
yo, you
remember
guys are running this thing like, you know, Rich Paul Pitt
Like
looking
you
like
own it.
Suge Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like he calling shots. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Who's really in, like you mentioned earlier, who's really in charge here? We still don't truly know. I mean, and I'm not taking anything away. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Jeannie Buss, but I'm saying, like, we know Jeannie is the owner.
Yeah.
But who is truly calling the shots? We don't know. Nobody truly knows who's calling the shots because there's so many different.
Nobody's
pieces to the
taking
puzzle.
accountability, saying I'm the one who. I asked right here on the show, and I'll do it again. Rob, please show us the X's and O's as to what told you that Russ trade was the way to go. Show us what data, what stat points you used to get to that, because the most novice Lakers fan knew that was a horrible trade.
And that's the biggest question is like, how do we know this? How do we know that this is not going to work? Because I have a big, like I said, it's like fantasy football. You know, you go, fantasy football team, and everybody want to go get the stars, right? Nobody picked Cooper Kupp. You know what I'm saying? They gonna pick Tyreek Hill. But we got to go get those players that may not be the top brand, but you take a team where you could go and blend them, and then they play their particular role. If you know you got Russell Westbrook, who the only way that this guy is successful is if he's handling the ball like 80 to 90% of the time, then you know that's
and
the way that he works.
Is still marginal,
right? Well, here's the thing. The dude averaged 18.7 rebounds, 7 assists. What we saw was horrible, but his stats weren't really.
Yeah, but
the 43% from field goal percentage wasn't pretty neither though.
But here's the thing: the dude's a career stat pattern. But
exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. but I mean, what I'm saying is though, and you got LeBron. LeBron wasn't going to give up the ball at all, right? So the first thing that we said, and let me know if you agree with this. I said the only way that I thought that this LeBron and Russell Westbrook thing would have worked is if they would have both started the game the first 5 minutes, then Russ went on the bench, and then started a second quarter with the second unit. That way he'll be able to control the ball. That was the only way that I thought it would have worked. But of course they didn't do that. And the only reason why I would have started Russell is because he's making $40 million.
Well, that's very optimistic of you. But I knew from day one, I'm like, when they announced the trade, I was like, this is doomed from the start. This is not going to work because it didn't fit. Westbrook didn't fit, and he doesn't fit. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. If you looked at the other teams, he has to be the star. He wasn't going to play. He wasn't going to go from the 1 to being the 3rd star behind Anthony Davis. That wasn't going to happen for him. Yeah, he said all the right things. I was at the presser when he first came here. He said all the right things, but I knew it was a bunch of cow manure because I know a leopard don't change his spots. Westbrook is going to be what he's going to be. He was progressively worse, and it looked even worse on the floor, just from an ocular standpoint.
Right.
And so even if they had, but the problem was they should have got a Buddy Hield. They should have got DeMar DeRozan.
Right.
That would have been right. I'm saying both of those guys. That would have been better. And even if you want to give away Alex Caruso, okay, fine. You have DeMar DeRozan. You have a Buddy Hield. You surround LeBron with shooters because statistically, from 2012 to current, LeBron has moved further and further away from the basket. So you're going to have to get guys are going to surround him with shooters. That way, they can stay offensively driven as they're going up and down the floor. But you didn't do that for whatever reason. You allowed LeBron to punk you and convince you that Westbrook was the right formula, and it wasn't.
You know what it felt like? It felt like a desperate move of a team. Which, look, don't get me wrong. When the Lakers don't have stars, the Lakers need to have a star. So if the Lakers didn't have LeBron or anyone, go get the Russell Westbrook, because Lakers need to have at least a star, even if we're not competing. That's who the Lakers are. But they didn't. They had their stars. They didn't need that.
Yeah.
What were they trying to do? It was overload. It just didn't work.
It didn't make any sense from last year. See, first of all, when did we start getting in the habit of like breaking up championship teams? Like, that's what I'm tripping off of.
Right.
Because
that's the key.
When you have continuity, when you have camaraderie, like the Lakers have displayed in the past 2 years before, when they were winning the championship in the bubble, and even that playoff, they were injured. But Caruso would play in D still. KCP would play in D still. You know what I'm saying? You still got these fools know exactly what they had to do because they had continuity from last year on to this year. They know what they're going to, and that will continue. That chemistry, and they broke it up for star power. Only if it has to have another name on the docket to have a big three.
Which they didn't.
But they failed miserably in executing that. So now it looks real bad because you didn't have to get rid of those guys.
Well, also, too, the thing that the Lakers are lacking is culture. You mentioned the Rams earlier. Right. The reason why the Rams are so successful is because they have a culture.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't adapt to that culture, then you're gonna be, you take your pick, the 110, the 405, or the 105. Which freeway you're gonna take to get out of here? Because you're gonna get out of here. Look at Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson didn't work. Unfortunately, he had to go. But look who they got in return. Everybody questioned Odell Beckham move, but that was probably the best move, and he was the best player outside of Cooper, not named Cooper Kupp, on that offensive, squad.
Right.
You look at, obviously, but later on brought in Von Miller. But it was and all these guys have egos. We know these guys are stars and superstars. We know this.
Right.
But they bought into the culture because there was a culture established. When you look at the Rams with Stan Kroenke, you look at Kevin Demoff, you look at Les Snead, then you look at McVay. There's a trickle line effect. There's a culture in place. So the players know, the upper management knows, the coaching staffs know. And so now you could come together like a cohesive unit. Like you said, we didn't see that with the Lakers because they have no culture. There's no established culture to say, hey, this is this is who this person is, this is who that person is, which is why it leads me back to before, not to sound redundant, we don't know who the hell is truly making the decisions because there's no culture, there's no structure in place.
Well, yeah, and one of the main reasons why they don't have a culture is because they got LeBron James. I think LeBron
culture killer.
I think LeBron killed the culture.
Yeah,
you think?
Yeah.
What gave it away?
Man, listen, him coming over.
Doom. I'm waiting for the Law and Order music.
No, yeah, him coming over here because it is.
He does it every team. I mean, the thing is letting him do it, getting him here, and then letting him do it. He was already under contract. You pick whatever players you want. Say no, we're not grabbing that player, so we're not making that damn trade. Imagine that.
What did Godfather Pat say? You can either play with Spoelstra or you can sit your behind on the bench and ride it out. But Eric Spoelstra is going to be your head coach.
That's it. We ain't changing.
Yeah.
So how do we fix them?
You don't.
It's time.
They're screwed.
Time to go. And besides, what you want to, I personally don't want to wait around so he can patch himself along so he can play with his son. I want to move on.
Wait, you buying that?
No, I'm not buying that.
Okay.
But I want someone who is patching themselves along to win titles.
Okay.
And that's all they're talking about, and that's all they care about. And that's the only way we're going to get back to winning.
Mm-hmm.
And he's our most tradable asset.
All right, so there's a rumor that Pelinka was out there with hanging out with
Nets.
The Nets GM. You know, what do you think?
Kyrie.
Kyrie. They talk about maybe Kyrie for LeBron straight up.
Let's just go ahead and bring the circus over here. Let's go ahead and bring in here. What else, man? Why is mine?
You're saying Kyrie for LeBron straight up, or no?
I mean that's the rumor.
Yeah.
That's the rumor that that's what
that LeBron would go to the Nets.
No,
that they would reunite. So we're sending
Russ. That's not happening. That's not happening.
For what?
Those two.
KD can play back with Westbrook.
Why no?
Well, not even that.
I want to trade LeBron.
You could trade. But here's the thing: you could trade LeBron, but bringing Kyrie and LeBron will never play on the same squad again.
Okay,
ever.
I'm good with that.
Ever
have Kyrie come
That's
up
not.
Besides, they wouldn't even have the same success. They're different players.
No. But here's the thing: I can see LeBron going to the Knicks. The reason why I say he can go to the Knicks because you got tradable young pieces: Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett.
Randall.
You have a lot of young pieces that you can go with that. And also, too, there's no pressure with the Knicks. The Knicks fan, now I talk about Laker fans being thirsty, but Knicks fans, dear God, if you get to the second round, it's like the second coming of Patrick Ewing.
Yeah,
man.
And for LeBron to be in New York, something they wanted to have for years in New York, to have him play his final contractual year in the Big Apple, in the #1 market. If LeBron got them to the Eastern Conference Finals, he'd be a god.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say, hypothetically, they pair him up with Zion. Because we all know Zion wants out of New Orleans. Can't really blame him because it's a terribly ran organization. So you pair him with LeBron.
Apparently, the food's good though.
Food is always immaculate.
I mean, this is
The
New Orleans,
504
man.
got it cracking.
New Orleans.
But I mean, but let's just say LeBron got traded there to the New York Knicks for however it went down. You got younger pieces. Now you talking about getting younger, you talking about developing talent. You still have street clothes, right? For at least 50, 60 games.
Gosh, dude.
You still got street. And let me say this: when Anthony Davis is healthy, he's an incredible player. He is a phenomenal player. But the best ability is availability.
Right.
So unfortunately, you got to deal with that. I would now, as far as trading Westbrook out of here, that's probably going to take a 3-team deal of some sort, because you got to get something back in return. You've got to, if you're going to trade THT and you're going to probably pair him up with Westbrook if you can, or maybe just do it as a 3-team, however you want to do it, you're going to have to get something tangible in return. I'm not talking about cash. I'm not talking about second-round picks. I'm talking about a first-rounder. Even if it's a low first-rounder, you still can get some. You get an asset at low.
They're probably going to have to take a bad contract with that too.
Exactly. But it's got to be an expiring contract.
Yeah.
But even if you get a low first-round pick, look at Kyle Kuzma. Look at Jordan Poole.
Yeah, they can do.
Like you can find talent.
They have
at the end of the rainbow. Like you can find some talent.
So the Lakers can then trade him if he's good. That's the
I mean,
wow.
but that's what happens, though. I mean, that literally is like what happens.
So let me ask y'all this real quick, and it's something that I was talking to my producer on my show with. I want to ask y'all because you guys talk basketball like religiously, which is beautiful. DeAndre Ayton, right?
Yeah.
And you look at DeAndre, and you obviously number one pick. The man was a consistent double before Chris Paul got there, and then had to peel back a little bit. Would it be feasible, or would it be smart for him to come to Los Angeles to play with the Clippers in a sign and trade to pair him up with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Reggie Jackson? Because I'm going to tell you something. I think this is it for that Clippers team. If they don't at least sniff the draws of the NBA Finals,
they're done.
That team is done. And let me tell you something. The person they're going to ride with ain't going to be Kawhi Leonard. So do you think that do you think the Clippers should get DeAndre, or at least try to really strongly go after DeAndre Ayton?
Well, look, I like laughing at the Clippers, so
you can't help that.
So I like them being the stepchild and failing. So, but if I am, taking my heart out of it, DeAndre Ayton, I think would actually be a really good fit. And I think it would probably take some pressure off of Paul George too, with them being there, because he's like another type of star where, Paul George is great when he's being mediocre and everybody gets hyped, by what he does. But when everybody turn their eyes on him, you know what I mean? And they're ready for him to perform, all of a sudden this dude disappears. And I think if you have Ayton on there, Ayton would take a little bit of that pressure, where if Paul George have an average game, Ayton could probably pick up the slack. So I think that actually would be a pretty good move.
Well, to his credit, Paul George did not shrink because he got the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals. And if they had Kawhi Leonard, they probably would have beat the Suns.
Could have.
Yeah,
I mean, so but I'm saying you can't say Paul George shrunk, because he's the catalyst on why they got to the Western Conference Finals for the first time.
But he's not the guy that you kind of, are you going to get on his back though?
No.
Are you going to ride him though?
No. What I'm saying is,
just that one example.
Right. I'm saying you ride him as long as you can, but I'm saying I agree with you. A healthy Kawhi Leonard, Reggie Jackson, DeAndre Ayton at the 5. I think would be, you have no excuse not to get to the NBA Finals next year.
Yeah.
You really have, as long as everybody stays healthy, you really have no excuse. And I'm not saying they're going to win it, but you got to at least
they have to go.
You got to know what it tastes like.
Yeah, they have
Ayton
to go
would be
to
one
the
of the
finals.
best centers that they've had in a long, long time.
Yeah. Honestly, really, I mean, he would be.
Ever.
He would be. Like, I'm thinking, let's go back.
Kawande.
Yeah,
Candy.
Is that what we doing?
The Candy Man?
He's done. I mean, he would be. I mean, Zubac is probably the best.
Do you think, but Ayton might actually thrive there too by not being. The Clippers are never going to be spotlight. The Suns, we're the top team, so maybe with that light pressure there.
I think he has something to prove too. But also too, let's look at Dallas because Ayton can go to Dallas too and pair him up with Luka.
Oh yeah.
And now you got a significant contender.
I actually would know what 3 people that start in the starting lineup on that team.
You would know.
Well, now you'll know 4 because him or I would say Rudy Gobert. Depends on where Rudy Gobert goes. I think that's what dictates
about Rudy Gobert.
What happens with DeAndre Ayton. And I would love to see Rudy Gobert go down to Dallas. I think that would be interesting to pair him up with Luka.
Yeah, because they're not gonna get rid of Mitchell.
And they shouldn't. But I would say Gobert going to Dallas would probably be a really good fit. Because that gives them some kind of presence. They give them some kind of defensive presence. They don't have it, even though and you have that. So that's taken out as a given. Offensively, you have somebody you can play the pick and roll with, and you have that extra person, your lob kind of guy that you can do with Gobert. That Luka can use. I think that would be a really good fit for them if you wanted to, because he's not going to win anything with Utah, and you can move out of Utah.
You gotta
get out of there.
You don't have to live in Utah anymore.
Right.
But could Rudy go to the South Beach? And could he be that piece to get them over there? Because remember, before everybody said Giannis could potentially go to before he signed that deal with the Bucks.
Right.
He was rumored to go to South Beach and could have been that piece with Jimmy Buckets.
That would have been scary.
And to get over the hump and get them to a championship. Now, could Rudy Gobert, now they call him Giannis, but could he be a nice
Gobert's better than
but see what's interesting about that is because we were talking about culture earlier, and there's a culture over there in Miami.
Right.
So the question is, how well will Rudy, adapt to that with that culture?
Easy.
Well, it's Jimmy's team. Everybody knows it's Jimmy's team. Even Victor Oladipo said it was Jimmy's team. They take on you saw that against the Celtics. They took on the persona with Jimmy being out in the second half.
Yep.
You thought Jimmy was still playing because his aura was around that entire team.
Right.
And even though Tyler Hero didn't have the best second half, they still found a way. And Bam stepped up in that absence and made his presence felt like, yo, I should have been defensive player of the year, you bastards. Now I'm gonna show you
playing with a chip.
Right.
Yeah.
Size of Frito-Lay.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like you and if you have Gobert down there I already have a defensive system already in place. Now you have an anchor that could come in there and erases all mistakes, which are pretty much not many. You can have a scary defensive bunch on your end that's ready to lock you guys and willing to win 85, 82. You know what I'm saying? Willing to win like that. So it's going to be interesting free agency, when it comes to where it should be.
NBA, that's the best part about NBA is there's never an off season. There's never an off season for the NBA, and the Lakers always too, but there's never an off season for
They try to get like the NFL, because that's what NFL is. NFL is literally a machine.
How salty do you think the NBA is now that the
NFL
is now playing on Christmas Day?
Yeah.
How salty do you have to be?
Dude, and honestly,
challenge.
Because, and it was, but see, wait a minute. Because I remember the NBA games about 2 years ago started showing up on Thanksgiving. And I was why we got Thanksgiving games?
And they're doing Thursday night.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we doing that? Okay, NFL said, okay, I'll see your Thanksgiving. And I'll take your Christmas.
Right.
Because there's not a matchup. Dude, we watched Lions versus the Dolphins on Thanksgiving, bro. We watched the Lions.
Don't matter.
Yeah.
It is a staple. The Lions are a staple.
Yeah. Lions, Cowboys.
Just like the Cowboys, the Lions play. Yeah. I don't know how they got
but at least the Cowboys sometimes are good.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Because I've actually
the Lions are still in there.
Yeah, I've actually covered a Cowboys game on Thanksgiving when they played the Chargers one year. Yeah. And that was actually that was an experience all its own. Like Thanksgiving Cowboy games, if you've never been in that stadium, is remarkable. It is incredible. Like just being on the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I ran 10 yards before I almost slipped and tripped, but I can say I ran 10 yards at Cowboy Stadium.
That's awesome.
And that's an amazing stadium, man. Like
it was
until
SoFi.
Oh, you like SoFi better?
SoFi is the if Jay-Z said he's the God MC, that's the God Stadium.
I still like the Dallas one better.
I don't know, man.
Did SoFi?
Yeah, I do. I do.
I'm offended.
Dude.
All right. Well, that brings us.
Listen. And I put
Final thought.
And look, I was at the Super Bowl.
Have you seen Allegiant? I haven't been in Allegiant yet.
Yeah, it's nice. Allegiant is nice.
Is nice, but the problem with Allegiant is it really is the culture of the Raiders, which means there's no flair to it. Like it's black and gray,
Bare bones.
you know, and it's technology in there somewhere, but you gotta look to find it. Let me know. I mean, do you agree? Like,
I agree. You finally talking some sense once again. Yes, I agree with you on Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
I'm still a little disgusted with you about. I can't believe what you just said.
fire,
I got to give you a tour. Then that's what we gonna.
no,
have to
I mean,
do.
yeah. You know what? It'd be freezing in there too, man.
If you guys watch the
Damn.
show, you guys know that we finish each show with a segment we call Money Mike's Out of Bounds. Money Mike's going to share his thoughts or opinions on a topic, and he just wants to know, are they in bounds or out of bounds? Money Mike?
You know what? This
You
is
got the mic.
this is a really interesting thing to me, and I definitely want to know your opinion on it, Nick. Our guy Patrick Beverly, he went on tour. Well, it wasn't even a tour, but it was like 2 days worth of like, we got to
Media
hear what
blitz.
this guy is saying now. Now, first of all, let me just say I have two opinions on it.
Mhm.
My first opinion is I think because you're in the NBA fraternity, you shouldn't be spilling out as much tea that you gave. But as a fan, I love what he did. So am I out of bounds for saying he shouldn't have done it, but I love that he did, or or not?
Our guest, Nick. Go ahead, please.
I think you're out of bounds for saying that you enjoyed it, because I kind of enjoyed it too. So I guess I'm out of bounds too. But he wasn't spilling tea. That dude was burning people with hot coffee. Like, there's no way. And the bad part is, are players going to trust him again?
Right.
Because it's one thing about reporters in the locker room and then spilling, as you say, spilling tea.
D'Angelo Russell.
Snitch. But when you got your own fraternity, your own brotherhood, like burning folk with McDonald's hot coffee, like that's all bad. Like,
Right.
I think, and let's be clear, Patrick Beverly is not a defender.
Yeah,
He gets
an
on your
offender.
nerves. He's like that.
offends you.
He's a chihuahua, but sees himself in the mirror as a
Sasha
pit bull.
Vujacic.
Yep.
yeah.
He's annoying, but he's not a defender. I don't look at him as a defender. I see Ben Simmons as a better defender than him.
But you know what? I'm gonna tell you what I do like about Patrick Beverly is
He's annoying.
He'll take you out of your game mentally.
he brings the culture though, because I'm gonna tell you, in Minnesota, they started all of them. Anthony Towns, they started picking on people too. Whatever it was, that dude, was like, hey, this is how you annoy people, and he got the other players on his team to do that. So I was like, okay, this
So
guy
it's
is
a fact.
Ant has a lot to do with that too. Ant Edwards,
Ant-Man.
man.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man is nice too. So
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, Patrick Beverly does give them that grit. And yes, and you got called Anthony Towns talking out his neck. You're like, okay, dude.
And you already know that's
simmer
because of
down.
Patrick Beverly.
Simmer down, dog. Simmer down. But no, you're right, dude. Yeah, because he said, what did Patrick Beverly say? He said,
Patrick Beverly.
yeah, I was,
said,
I was going to talk about something,
you.
but I ain't going to tell you what. No, forget it. I'll tell you. And you're like, wait a minute. But you just said you were not going to tell nobody. So don't tell nobody.
Hey, that dude was like, I was talking to this guy. I ain't gonna tell y'all. No, it was Pat. It was Pat.
And you're like,
It was
And me and Pat was sitting around talking.
Yeah, it was-
He
it was
literally
their
threw-
His phone just
he
blew
literally-
up. Like,
he-
you nigga talking about
He,
that.
he threw Paul George underneath the bus.
Wait,
Dude.
and he threw LeBron under the bus too,
Right.
because he said, "Oh yeah, I beat Chris Paul at LeBron's camp. Go ask LeBron." It's like you asking LeBron to tell about his homeboy that they're like, that's the Banana Boat crew.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is he supposed to say?
Yeah, and it was,
Talk about desperate for
and
the
what was
15
it? It was
Come
2-0.
on, man.
And then when he said the story, it was 2-0.
Pat Beverly thirsty, man.
It's
He need to go
ridiculous.
back to the ball.
It's ridiculous.
What do you think?
You're in bounds.
Okay.
You're in bounds. Absolutely. I've never really liked Patrick Beverly's game. I don't like his attitude. You know what? I thought he was a punk when he tried to do that to Lonzo on Lonzo's first game, when he really ran up to Lonzo as if LeVar Ball, and everything LeVar Ball was saying. Yeah, dude. When he ran up to Lonzo and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna," like, Lonzo didn't say nothing, man.
Dude.
Step the fuck.
You know,
You know what, dude? It's
now I wish you would. Now the thing is, because see, in those situations, I just wish that was Melo. I just wish it was Melo.
Right.
Melo would have been like, "All right, I'll be a Huckleberry." because I'm about to bust your ass tonight.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bust your ass.
Melo gonna talk that stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna bust your ass, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk that crap, and I'm gonna make you look like you slipping and sliding all over tonight.
My
You know what I'm
man.
saying? You just knew who we picked. You just knew who to pick.
He
on.
was and he was a punk for pushing Chris Paul in the back because
too.
you
That too.
know Chris Paul would have. I'm sorry, you can say what you want about Chris Paul, but I don't see Chris Paul as no punk.
No.
Sorry, I just don't.
No.
If that was been on the street,
Yeah.
different ball game. He'd have fired on Pat Beverly, and it would have been on from there.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
But he had a whole
That was
restraint
punk.
because of who.
That's a punk.
Yeah, that
was.
was a sucker move.
That's a punk move. All right, everybody. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. Can you do us a favor, please, and let everybody know the best way to keep up to date with what you've got going on?
Yes, indeed. Thank you guys for having me. It's been great. I loved it. Thank you so much for having me on. You can catch me on Instagram at Nick Hamilton LA, also at nightcastmedia.com. That's NITECASTMEDIA.com. Your gateway to sports, pop culture, entertainment, community tech, all rolled into one just for you.
Perfect. Money Mike, you got something?
Yeah. So Nick, when I come to the show, we always like to give people a gift from the Profanity Nation. I got you a customized shirt that says he ain't worth that money.
Oh,
There's
there
a
you go.
whole lot of people on the Lakers that ain't worth $40 million. You know what I mean? and so when you wear this, I want you to think about all the players in the NBA that ain't worth a lot of
I'm
money.
rocking that. I am rocking that for sure. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. We will be back next week as always. This audio will come out on Tuesday on all podcast platforms. Thank you for joining the Profanity Nation podcast. We'll be back. We'll see you.
Peace.